Fernando,
James,
Kevin, Henry,
Eric,
Fred.
Alright, hello everybody. I'm going to be doing my informational speech on the effects of the Olympics on a host city. So did you know that according to Joshua Yaffa, who wrote The Waste and the Corruption of Vladimir Putin's 2014 Olympics, at $51 billion, the Sochi Games are the costliest ever. So obviously the Olympics are really important to many people all over the world. Every country has to contribute an amount of money to support the athletes and the construction. As many of you know, the Olympics are some of the most well-known and prestigious events in history. I really enjoy following the Olympics every few years and cheering on Team USA, as I'm sure some of you guys do too. I especially like the Winter Olympics, as these snow sports are my favorite to watch. In this speech, I'll be going over how a city gets the bid, the construction process to build the Olympics, and the economic impacts on a city, and then how a city continues to use the venues after the Olympics are over. So first, let's talk about how the city receives the bid. First, there's the invitation phase where whatever cities want to be considered will put their names into a pool of other cities, and then these cities will get invited to a workshop to talk with the committee on their plans to host the Olympics if they were to win. So after this, they will officially become a candidate city. There's a lot of time and thought that goes into this process to deciding who gets to host the Olympics. According to the International Olympic Committee, the bidding process spans a period of about 2 years, culminating in the host city election by the International Olympic Committee session. So they discuss how a city will accommodate the Olympics with all the extra people that will be involved, the extra traffic within the city, and the day-to-day processes that are going to go on, as well as the sustainability of the venues after the Olympics are over. Only after this long process will they be able to select a host city. So now that you know a little bit about the bid process, let's talk about the construction. So once the city is selected, they'll immediately begin demolition and finding space for the venues, as they take up a lot of room. Creating space for these stadiums and infrastructure can be difficult because they require lots of space for the different buildings that they need. Many construction companies will be hired to complete the mass amount of work that needs to get done in just a short time, only 7 years, which may seem like a lot, but when you need to build up to the standards of the Olympics, it takes a lot of time and money. According to Richard Cashman, who wrote the impacts of the games on the Olympic host cities, the host city populations are less well prepared for the continuing changes in the city's built environment that occur in the 7 years before the games. So there's a lot of changes that go on during the construction process, different thoughts and ideas that people have that alter the plans. Cities usually will receive a lot of pushback and will be criticized for being late or behind in the construction process. It's typically not uncommon for the process of construction to lead right up to the start of the Olympics. In 2014, when the Olympics were held in Sochi, Russia, they had issues completing on time and actually went over during the start of the Olympics. And as I said earlier, they were the most expensive Olympics in history. The cost of late fees didn't really help out their budget there. So now that we know a little bit about the construction, let's talk about the economic impacts on the city. It's no secret that the Olympics bring hundreds of thousands of people to these events. There's major infrastructure upgrades, there's really big buildings, and the best part is that the cities don't really have to pay for all of it. According to John Wibby, the main reason the city wants to host the Olympics is the hope of reaping sizable gains for local and international economy through tourism, marketing, and other means. So in this really short time period, there's going to be a lot of extra tourists around. There's going to be a high traffic flow in the cities, which is going to boost a lot of local business and support the community. On the other hand, there's also some negative effects that go with this. Because of such high cost to host the Olympics, they can really have an economic deficit on these cities after they're over. As many good reasons as there are to host the Olympics, there's also downsides. And because of that, it's why many cities don't put bids in anymore. They spend years paying off deficits and construction fees, and if it takes too long, they can have crippling effects on that city. So after the games are over, let's talk about how a city plans to utilize the spaces after the games. As part of the invitation phase, they are required to talk about their plans for after the Olympics and how they're going to use the arenas, stadiums, and most of these cities will turn them into public sporting events and stadiums, as that's what most of them are, as well as concert venues. And these things can bring in revenue for years after the Olympics. If cities don't really have a good plan, then the venues can go to waste and become abandoned. It can be difficult to find a use for these buildings sometimes if cities already have existing ones in place. According to Gary Hustwit, who wrote the documentary project, The Olympic City, most of them have chain link fence around them and they're covered in graffiti. So this is easy for this to happen to these venues when there's really no demand for them. For these, as you can see here, there's not really many uses for some of these odd venues that they need. So sadly, a lot of the time and the hard work and dedication that goes into building these can go to waste after they're over. So in conclusion, we learned about how a city gets the bid to host the Olympics, the process of construction, the economic impacts on that city, and how the city will use the venues after they're over. So now hopefully you have a better idea of what it takes to host the Olympics and the effects that it can have on a host city. So maybe one day me or you will be able to go to the Olympics if you haven't already, but even in maybe here up in 2028 we might get the chance to go because the Olympics will be hosted in Los Angeles.